when it comes to animation, it pays off in the long run to choose the proper workflow before you get started. In some instances, we want to make use of graphic elements, graphic frames within a graphic symbol in order to switch the instance or the look of the object that we have on stage. In such cases, we use a utility called the FramePicker. In order to work with the FramePicker, you must be working on classic tween mode. The reason for this is because classic tweens are frame-based, while motion tweens are object-based. Classic tweens being frame-based means that each frame is independent from the next. And so that means that the instance of that frame can be switched to any of the other frames within the actual symbol. While motion tween being object-based means that if you make a change to one of the frames, because you're actually changing the object itself, it will change all instances of that object on that particular timeline for that particular animation. So, how does frame picking work? Well, let's take a look at what we're about to try to recreate. Let me go ahead to do a test on the movie clip that we have set up here. And I want this character to just jump in on the screen on a day at the park. He's just walking down the path and the object is just jumping on screen. So you'll notice that the object kind of moves around, but the key thing here is that the object blinks at specific points. Okay? And so in order to do those blinks, to add those blinks, what we want to do is a bit of pre-production work. We set up our characters by defining those states for the character into a graphic symbol. So let's take a look at the library really quick and take a look at Blobby. So I created Blobby. Let me double click on it. I created Blobby out of a solid, actually out of a shape, using the color, using just a color here. I just picked it, went ahead and did a circle, and then I just morphed it around until I got something that looks sort of semi-appealing as an object. I also added eyes to it, and you'll see, basically, let me zoom into it. You'll see that this is just fills. And so it's just a drawing that I did with the tools. Now, what you want to notice, what you want to pay attention to is that I have two states for this Blobby. This is the regular state, the beginning state. Then I have another frame down the pipe, downstream, with the eyes closed. So I have two states for that specific character. Okay? And the reason for that is because, and I don't have to have them this separate. I literally just separated them so that you could actually see, that there's two separate states. But they could be one frame next to another. Okay? And you can have as many states as you want down in this symbol. You can tell this is a graphic symbol because of the icon. So let me go back to the main stage and let's study what's happening here. So actually, let me turn off the visibility for Blobby really quick. And let's try to recreate it. Let me turn off the visibility for the shadow as well. And so I want to bring in Blobby from the library. Let me go ahead and create a new layer. And I'm going to place an instance of Blobby on that layer. I'm going to place him off the stage. You can see where the stage starts. So that's my stage, and I want to place him here. Now, the idea is that Blobby is going to jump from here to here, and it's going to land here, and it's going to wobble a little bit as it comes into the scene. For this, I will be using another of the principles. For the creation of the character, I use the principle of appeal. For the motion, I'm going to be using stretch and squash. And so what I want to do, and a bit of anticipation. So what I want to do is I want to start creating keyframes for where this Blobby is going to be. Before I do that, I need to define where I want my center of gravity for the Blobby to exist. And the center of gravity is towards the bottom of the character. So I will use my free transform tool to move my point of gravity, my anchor point, down to the bottom. And that now I can go ahead and start creating the separate keyframes. So there will be a keyframe when the Blobby reaches the upper point and then when it lands. That action is going to take about 9 to 10 frames. So I will say that the upper point is about around frame 5. I can just go ahead and set another keyframe at keyframe 5 if I want to. So I'll select on the new layer. Let me lock all the other layers. On the new layer, I am going to put my time marker at frame 5, select that frame, and press F6 to create a keyframe. Then I'm going to go to frame 10 or frame 9, and I'm going to create another keyframe. That's when he is going to land on this side. So let's go ahead and do an F6 right there. So I want to just create that jump first. That's the first thing I want to do. So with that set up, I'm going to go to my middle frame and I'm going to place Blobby up here. And then I'm going to go to the next frame and I'm going to bring him straight across in this direction. So basically Blobby is going in a triangle almost, as you can see. Okay. So a little bit further down the path perhaps. Okay. And there it is. Boom, boom. So what I want to do now is I want to activate Classic Motion Tween for these things. So let me go ahead and click on both of them. Classic Motion Tween. And now my animation is set up. I am moving. And as you can see, it is fairly linear. So I want to change the E scene between those frames. Now to do that, the first thing I want to do is obviously select the frame where I want to, or the tweening where I want to apply the E scene. And then I'll go to Properties. And under tweening, I can choose from that effect. This is Classic Easy. And then I can choose what I want. Remember, this graph indicates rate of change, which is the vertical, versus time, which is the horizontal. So if my graph sticks to the bottom, the rate of change is going to be slow. And the higher it goes, the faster the change, the more the change. So if I go easy in, this is going to start slow and it's going to speed up as it goes to the top. So if I want the reverse, which is I want it to go fast because Blobby just jumped out from the scene up, it's going to start slowing down and then it's going to go slowly and start increasing in speed as it goes down. So that's what I want. So I want fast change at the beginning and then it's easy as it goes to the top. I'll use the sign option, or you can use cubic, quart. You can test them around until you find which one you like, or you can, like I said before, you can create your own if you want to under custom. So in my case, I want to use the easy out sign. Double click on that and it's applied, and you'll notice that Blobby takes off really fast and it sort of slows down as it gets to the top. And then over here on this tweening area, I am going to use the opposite, which is easy ease in sign. So slow change and fast towards the out. So double click on sign and there it is. So Blobby is going to be jumping, slowing down, and coming back down right afterwards fairly fast. Now, this action only takes 5 frames, so it's hardly noticeable. But if you are looking at this over a longer period of time, you will notice that actually you can see that the spacing between frames is a lot more at the beginning, and then it starts becoming smaller as it gets to the other frame, and then small spaces, and you'll notice that it starts moving a lot faster. Now, to truly sell this effect, I'm going to have to do the squash and stretch in just a second. And let's actually go ahead and get moving on that. So first things first, before Blobby takes off, I want to modify its shape with my free transform tool. So anticipation being one of the principles, I want to sort of pull back slightly on this and maybe squash it a little bit, and then it takes the shape that is going in that direction. Now, to go in that direction, I want them now moving forward and be stretched out a little bit. So you'll notice that basically it's anticipating and it morphs as it's pushing up. Now, when it starts falling, when it gets to the other side, it's going to be falling from this direction and it's going to be stretched a little bit, so you can see. So it sort of deforms as it moves in that path, and that gives me that more of a natural feel for that jump. Still don't like the timing on that jump, but that's something we can fine tune afterwards. Now that it has landed, it's going to be squashing and moving in that direction. So that would be my next frame. About 2 frames downstream, I'm going to right click on that keyframe, and I'm going to add Classic Tween to it, so that I basically tag any subsequent frame to be animated. And so I'm going to create another keyframe right here, F6, and then I'm going to squash it, and that might be too much squashing, and then I'm going to move it in this direction. So what's going to happen is he's going to kind of bounce towards the front. And remember, this is Blobby, so it's going to be coming right back up after another keyframe here. Let me set up F6 and move him up a little bit and in this direction. So you get that little kind of inertia look to it. Now right here, I want to set up another keyframe. And this time, I'm probably just simply going to move it forward. So I only have that kind of wobble. And then over here at the very end, I can just go ahead and set it up straight, or I can right click it and remove all transformations so that it is as it was at the beginning. And there it is. So my completed animation looks like this. Let me... Now, if you want to exaggerate the motion in the squashing, you can go ahead and start playing around now that you have the frame set up. Let me stop that animation for just a second. Say it lands, and maybe I want to squash it even a little bit more, perhaps. And so because I squashed it going towards the front, I should squash it, or I could just keep it like so. Squash it on this frame a little bit. So it sort of comes back to its own natural shape. Now with that done, you've been noticing that as I play this back in the animation here, the character keeps on blinking, and it doesn't stop blinking. So I don't want that because that's distracting for my character. It almost looks like it's having a seizure. So what I want to do is I want to take advantage of that frame picking option. So remember, because we're working on classic motion tween, which is frame based, as opposed to regular motion tween, which is object based, we want to make sure that we take advantage of that. So I want Blobby to have the eyes open all the way from the beginning to this frame right here. So in order to deactivate that blinking, what I want to do is I want to select the actual properties for the object itself. And so let's go to that keyframe here. And you'll notice that when I select the object, which I don't see because I have it, clipped out, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select the actual object in the frame. And you'll notice that under object, I have looping and I have FramePicker. What I want to do first is I want to change my looping from looping to play only one single frame, which is the frame that I select. So if I click on that, I have looping, which keeps on blinking, play once, which will play only one blink, and pick a frame, which is play single frame. So if I choose that one, FramePicker becomes active for me, and I can tell that frame to stay like so, and you'll notice that now it stays on frame 1. When it gets to this frame, I can go back to that instance, same thing, select, pick only one frame, please, and I want to change my frame to be frame 1 as well. So you'll notice that Blinky opened its eyes, and now Blinky keeps the eyes open from 1 to 5, and then let's go to the next frame right here. That frame, I'm going to select the artwork, the content of the frame. I'm going to say only one frame, please, and I want that frame to be frame 5, which was my blink under Blinky, on the one in the library. Let me go ahead all the way in there, and that's frame 5, as you can see. So let's go back to my main scene. So I have that selected, that object selected, go to its properties, frame 5 is what I want, and only play one frame. Then over here, I want that object again, play one frame. I want to keep 1 on that one. Let's go to the next one, select the object, play one frame, play frame 1, or maybe we want to do frame 5 right now so that he blinks a couple of times. Then let's go to the next frame, select the artwork, single frame, frame 1 for that, and I want him to keep its eyes open from now on. So there you go, single frame, frame 1, and perhaps I want another blink somewhere over here. So I'll press F6 to create another keyframe, and that keyframe will allow me to once again select that one, single frame, and I want that to be frame 5, and then right after it, another frame, F6, to open up the eyes again. Single frame, frame 1. And so when I play this back, let me clip it again and play this back. What's going to happen? It's my character is only going to blink when I needed it to blink, making my life easier. Now, the way this works is, imagine, if you will, if you were working with a sprite sheet, then you can have states for a character on different frames within a sprite sheet, and with that and a combination of keyframes, you could pretty much create animation with something that it's been laid out by a graphic designer or by a person who has, who has been creating concepts, and you can actually create an animatic for a game or for an animation for an app or a prototype or something like that. So this is frame picking.